What's up guys, Houndish here, and we're back in Destiny 2 for the weekly reset. So this week we've got a couple of points of interest by the looks of things. Firstly, it is the final week of Solstice 2020, so we'll round up what's happening there. And today we get a pretty exciting reveal for the Warlock Stasis subclass coming in Beyond Light. A better look at the Stasis subclass trees, how they're going to be customized, as well of course as a new trailer, so we'll cover that in the video as well. But also, our Season 11 calendar pushes forward, so we will see if there are any remaining secrets or quests for the season popping up in the next couple of weeks. But otherwise for this video, we'll round up the rest of the week's rewards, activities, vendors, and all that good stuff. So if you do enjoy this one, a rating is very much appreciated from you guys down below. But now, let's get into the details. Now today Bungie posted a new trailer for the Warlock Stasis subclass. We'll run that in just a moment, but here, they did post an article with a bit more information about how these are going to work. So initially, we get our first look at what the subclass tree, if you like, is going to really appear like in the game. And Bungie have said all of the Stasis subclasses will be able to customize abilities like grenades, movement modes, and class abilities. But they've added new layers of customization with the addition of aspects and fragments. And so aspects offer players new abilities, among other effects, but are actually physical items dropped in the world, such as crystallized Vex Conflux or a robotic fallen arm, for example. So essentially we'll be able to pick these items up to gain particular effects. And then there'll be an additional item called fragments, and these are physical items that you can discover in the world, which can actually be applied to aspects. So essentially these will offer additional passive perks such as stat bonuses that could come with certain penalties. And so they give us some examples of aspects. Right here we have Frost Pulse, a conflux trapped motionless in crystal, and the effect allows casting your rift to generate a shockwave that freezes nearby combatants. And then you can see in the fragment slot, we can apply a stasis fragment, Whisper of Bonds, and defeating frozen targets with weapons grants you super energy, but comes with that stat penalty of -10 intellect and discipline. And so obviously that's a pretty major new element for the new subclass trees. We can see here some of the bonus names. So you've got Winter's Wrath. Shadebinders harness the power of darkness to summon a stasis staff. That gets a bonus called Shatter Shockwave. The Shadebinder detonates the crystal on their staff, creating a devastating shockwave that shatters all nearby frozen enemies. And then you get Penumbral Blast, which fires stasis projectiles from the staff that explode on impact, and enemies hit by crystalline shrapnel are immediately frozen solid. And of course that is where you'd focus on using that Shatter Shockwave bonus. You can check out a few more details in the blog that Bungie posted, but right here before we move on to the weekly reset, here is the new Warlock Shadebinder trailer. As always, pretty cool stuff, and be sure to give us your thoughts about it down below. Now though, as we move into the weekly reset portion of this video, importantly, we're looking at the objectives on the map. So we've got means to an end, as always, which we'll talk about in just a moment, but nothing new at Zavala or anything kind of unexpected popping up elsewhere just yet. Once again, the evacuation quest is something we're anticipating potentially next week according to some data mines. But there also are a few little hidden things inside of the interference mission, which of course we access via means to an end. So there's potential with a couple of different weeks of that left that we're going to start to get some interesting stuff maybe this week. So be sure to complete that quest, jump in and check it out. As always, I'll keep you posted if anything interesting happens. But for the contact event this week, it will be taking place on Io. And for the Recaster weekly bounties, we need to defeat Vex on Mercury, as well as completing the Pyramidian Strike and defeating Vex anywhere in the system. Now though, with us being in the final week of Solstice of Heroes, let's take a look at the Eververse store. We've got all of the silver stuff featured on the front page as always, but we have the Pomegranate Gloss shader up on the front right here for Bright Dust, as well as the Shocking Entrance Transmat effect and the Twisty Dance emote, and then we've got the Soul Piercer ship, and as always the consumables. But then on the main Bright Dust page, we do have a few items right now, so we've got the Power Rising emote, as well as the Cabana shell, and the Era's Grace vehicle, or Sparrow, should I say. I'm just reading the title right there. I don't believe this one has come up for Bright Dust just yet. We also have the Intimidating Snap multiplayer emote, as well as the Dream of a New World, which is the Sturm ornament right there. And then we've got the Spelunking Shell and the Sandcastle projection, as well as the Warsat Arrival, Shocking Entrance, and Sandcastle effects, Transmat effects. And then we've got the Welded Brass, Oiled Algae, Pomegranate Gloss once again, and Tangerine Gloss as the featured shaders for Bright Dust this week. Worth pointing out once again that this is the final week of Solstice of Heroes for this year, so if you want to unlock the sets, ornaments, play in the European Aerial Zone, or get the associated triumphs, you'll need to do it before next Tuesday. The only thing we can continue after the event will be to upgrade the final set of objectives for the Magnificent set, and those are things like completing the Ordeal and the Trials wins to get the White Glow, but otherwise, everything else has got to be done before reset next week, so enjoy the final week of Solstice if you are still working on those upgrades. Moving on to the Pinnacles, of course, we have all of the playlist Pinnacles that we'll find, but otherwise, we've got a bunch on the moon, so the Pit of Heresy, as always. And then, for the Nightmare Hunts this week, we have Despair, as well as Insanity and Anguish, but then the Garden of Salvation, with this week's challenge mode being the 0 to 100 challenge. Ordeal Nightfalls this week will be inside of the Corrupted Strike though, so that's going to be a pretty fun one to jump into at varying different difficulties. But for traditional Nightfalls, we have the Lake of Shadows, and of course you can get the Malicious Birthright, but we also have Pyramidion, where you can get the Silicon Neuroma, and finally, the Festering Core. In the Crucible, Team Scorched, as well as Showdown, will keep you busy until Trials returns at the daily reset on Friday. But then moving back to some of the older content in the game, if you're jumping into Prestige Raid Layers from Year 1, we've got modifiers of Arsenal, as well as Arms Master, requiring a Kinetic Auto Rifle, as well as an Energy Auto Rifle, and then anything in the power slot. Menagerie boss this week should be Pagori, and in normal mode we've got Solar Singe, Grounded, and Brawler, but then for Heroic we have Extinguish, Match Game, Attrition, and Arc Singe for the modifiers this week. Reckoning drops for this week will come from the Swords bosses, so we've got Lonesome, Nightwatch, Soul Survivor, Last Man Standing, and Just In Case as the featured weapons. And then as we jump into the Escalation Protocol, potentially for one of the final times ever, we've got Kathok the Roar of Zol as the featured boss this week. And so the SMG is the featured weapon drop, but you can also get that 2.0 armor if you want to pick any up. In the Dreaming City though, if you are still completing any Forsaken content, then the Ascendant Challenge this week will be the Shattered Ruins, accessed via the Spine of Keres. If you guys want the location of that Ascendant Challenge, I will run it at the end of the video. But otherwise for this week guys, that is everything we have to talk about in the reset portion of things, but of course, we are going to continue to get a few little details about Beyond Light here and there, so stay tuned on the channel, and as always, I'll keep you posted. But otherwise, I appreciate you tuning in for this video. If you've enjoyed it, a like rating down below really does help me out. Feel free as well to get subscribed here on the channel so that I can keep you posted with the world of Destiny 2. But otherwise, I hope you guys have an awesome week.
Guardian down.